What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to your home for all things combat sports.
Yo.
Guys, today we are recapping the UFC 313 main event.
Oh, yeah.
We have a new champion, Magomed Ankalaev. He won a pretty close decision victory against Poatan Alex Pereira. Of course, we're going to talk about whether or not Nick and I thought it was the right decision ultimately. But before we do that, we want to give you a true technical analysis and breakdown because this was a fun fight that I don't think went the way that many of us thought it would. So Nick, without further ado, I got to give you some credit here, right? Because in the predictions video, you came out and said, I think Magomed Ankalaev is going to win this fight, but I don't think he's going to do it by grappling. I think he's going to win it on the feet. He's going to play that opposite stance battle. The hand fight's going to take place. He's going to freeze Alex a little bit and then start to land his volume and ultimately win him a decision victory. So super accurate. You also got absolutely annihilated in the comments, which I'm sure you're having fun with now because your prediction turned out to be pretty damn spot on. But
yes, sir.
Give me your technical perspective, because you're pretty good at these things, of what you think Magomed Ankalaev did so well that only allowed for the reigning champion and arguably one of the best strikers in UFC history to only land 11 strikes, significant strikes with his hands over 25 minutes.
Well, that is an insane stat. And thank you for shining my wheels on that prediction. I was a little shaky on if it was going to be right or totally off. But yeah, Ankalaev looked so good. And before we start talking about all the things he did right, Alex Pereira deserves some credit. He looked brilliant in the first round. I mean, the first round didn't have a whole lot of action aside from leg kicks, but if you're going to go leg kick for leg kick with somebody, Alex Pereira did as clean of a job against Magomed in the first round as you could possibly do. The problem is Magomed is so good at figuring out his opponents, and like I said, when I was making my points, it's not that I was saying Magomed was going to win this fight by making it uneventful and boring. Magomed was the one bringing the pressure. He was the one putting the pace on Alex. I thought that if Magomed was going to go out there and adapt to the game plan and figure out the best weapons that Alex has to use and how to basically negate them, then he would be able to drag this fight out and make it long and show more elements of MMA than just kickboxing, which a lot of Alex Pereira's opponents have only been able to take him into a kickboxing style fight. And of course, you're not going to get your hand raised in that. Now, the grappling was very interesting because even though it didn't take place on the ground, there was a lot of cage work, and to a degree that is grappling. But Magomed's, his ability to keep the fight up against the cage without feeling like he has to force a takedown was brilliant, because after about the second round, the end of the second round, we saw Chama was really breathing heavy, and it looked like his gas tank was starting to zap. And I believe that was coming from the pressure of Magomed, but also being put up against that cage. And Magomed knew that, so he kept doing it over and over and over again. And another aspect that was draining the gas tank of Pereira, which sort of led to his lackadaisical performance, were the body kicks. Now, we saw Magomed land a lot of great push kicks. One even pushed Chama all the way back to the cage. It was like several feet. It was one of those Spartan kicks. I thought that was really, really impressive. But when you get down to what game plan worked versus what game plan didn't, Ankalaev felt the biggest and most devastating weapons off of Chama early in the fight. The calf kick was working perfectly for Alex, and the hook was really close. He was inching it by in that first round. But as the fight went on, Magomed decided, I have to change the range because he's able to get these kicks off on me, and it's going to do damage on my leg. I'm not going to be able to move as well as the fight goes on. So Magomed just sort of put his chin down, closed the distance, got into a more boxing range, got his offense off when he needed to, and then he would get outside and go back to that lead foot battle and lead hand battle. And we were also talking about that too. I don't want to talk about the past too much, but we were talking about how the lead foot battle is what everybody talks about in the open stance, but the lead hand battle is just as important. And Magomed proved that, because as the fight went on, Alex was not able to control the outside foot quite as much, but there were moments. Almost no time in rounds 3, 4, and 5 did Alex control the lead hand battle. Magomed had a firm grasp on that, and I think that was one of the key differences as to why he got his hand raised. And look, Chama definitely belongs in another title fight. I'm assuming we're going to get a rematch for obvious reasons. The UFC likes Alex as their champion, but it was definitely a close enough fight for me to warrant a rematch, and I think it'll be a probably an interesting and more difficult fight for both fighters if they do a rematch.
Yeah, it certainly seems like, and Dana doesn't ever say, or Dana says always that he doesn't match make until Tuesday, but there are the rare exceptions where he basically says, yeah, this is the direction we're going.
Right.
And he said in the post-fight presser last night that more than likely Pereira versus Ankalaev 2 is what you're going to see next for the belt at 205.
Right.
To me, it was a little bit of a matter of too little, too late for Alex. And that old boxing adage comes to mind, which is if you're spending the whole fight looking for the knockout, you're going to lose the decision.
Right.
And Alex seemed to be a little hesitant. He was looking for that low calf kick, and he was looking for the hook. He was landing the low calf kick brilliantly in the first part of the fight, and then Magomed made some adjustments. He never really got the hook off clean.
No.
And he also allowed himself to be pressured. Alex is usually a pressure fighter. Think about the Jamal Hill wave off, that infamous wave off of Herb Dean, and then he lands the hook. He brings the storm to you.
Right.
When he's fighting on his back foot, it reminds me a lot of like Deontay Wilder when he was knocking everybody out in boxing. And then Tyson Fury said, you know what, I'm just going to come across the ring and I'm going to push this guy back and make him fight moving backwards instead of moving forward towards me. That was a lot of what we saw last night out of Alex Pereira. I think Magomed, the statistic was he was aggressing about 44% of the fight.
Wow.
So almost 50% of the fight, Magomed Ankalaev is marching forward on Alex Pereira.
Making you feel the pressure.
Exactly, which proved to be exactly what he needed to do. Here's the other thing that Alex did a little bit. I think he was trying to fit a square block into a circle hole, so to speak, looking for that hook. When Alex threw some head kicks, some really powerful head kicks, they, even though they hit the hands, they registered. Those were hard kicks. There was Magomed was even,
they got his attention.
They got his attention big time. And when he threw straights, like a straight two, and even that really nice jab that he was throwing, those were landing. And I think he should have done more of that and stopped trying to just look for what he wants. Sometimes when you try to force something, it's not there. When it comes to you naturally is where the beauty and the magic really happens. But Alex has great straight punches.
Right.
He has great head kicks. I mean, he knocked Yuri Prohaska out with a switch kick. So I think Alex spent the fight against Magomed backing up, trying to get his reads, and trying to land that one super powerful shot that ended the night. You know, there's a lot of talk about Alex being the most popular guy in the UFC right now, and I agree with that. I think he is. Yeah. And why is he so popular? It's not because he speaks English, that's for sure. And that is a very uncommon thing in this sport. Most of the fighters that are breakthrough fighters are English-speaking fighters. Alex is popular because he's a freaking stone cold killer.
And fights a lot.
And when he fights, he knocks people out cold. And I think he almost, to some degree, feels the pressure that I need to get a knockout in this fight. And he's looking for that kill shot. Whereas in reality, if he just kept working what was working for him, oh, that straight's working, that's there, I'm going to throw more of that. That jab's working, I'm going to throw more of that. That head kick, even though it hit the hands, Magomed still, it got his attention. I'm going to keep working more of that and let things unfold to you rather than trying to force something that's not actually there. And then the crazy thing about it is if you actually go in with that game plan and you do that, then the hook just ends up presenting itself.
Right.
But I think Alex spent a little bit too much time watching last night. I think he spent a little bit too much time trying to force his game plan, and he should have been a little bit more cerebral and a little bit more active with his hands. 11 significant strikes to the head with your hands. I mean, that's just not going to cut it if you're talking about a 25-minute title fight.
Definitely not. And one thing I want to talk about, but we'll get to that next because I think you've got some good points on it, is Alex's takedown defense. That was, incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, clean sweep on the takedown defense. But one thing that Magomed did really well and Alex didn't have an answer for.
What's up, guys? We completely forgot to mention this earlier, but as you know, we are on the road to 10,000 subscribers and we are getting so close. But most of you are still not subscribed to the channel. What's up with that? Guys, if you're enjoying the content, like a video, comment on something, but most importantly, subscribe. Now let's get back into the show.
Was once he was able to beat that foot, beat that hand on the outside, on the weak side, he could find a pretty good straight two. And he would kind of lunge forward with it, but Pereira has a tendency to back up, and when he does, he goes straight up and he brings his chin up. So he was getting touched by those. But there were a couple of shots that Magomed landed flush that I thought were going to wobble Alex to the point that maybe he couldn't get up. The end of the second round, I believe it was the second, it looked like it was 10 seconds away from being stopped.
He rocked him.
He was
bad.
Yeah, almost done. And one thing I want to say about Alex Pereira that you were just mentioning is he was gun shy. He was only throwing the lead hook, and he couldn't find the target for it after about the second round. And then the calf kick. But he was having so much success. Even the crowd was going crazy when he would throw those head kicks. And that sort of stuff does play a role. But does it also play a role when people are online saying all Alex needs to do is land that left hook one time and it's over? And while Alex knows that's true, one shot off of him can end the night for somebody. But sometimes I wonder if a fighter who realizes maybe they're fighting somebody who's a more complete fighter, and they go, but at least I got that left hook. Let me just find it. That could have been the situation Alex found himself in. He's like, I don't really want to exchange in striking with Magomed because he seems to be getting the advantage in some of these exchanges. But I'll wait for that opportunity. I'll find that lead hook and I'll get him out of here. And I think too little too late is like what you said. He was just waiting around for that shot. And all the while, Magomed is just accumulating damage. And just optically, it looked like Magomed was controlling the fight from round 2 on. Round 3 was the most controversial one. A lot of people said they thought Alex won it. I saw it from Magomed. I'm going to have to go back today and rewatch it, but I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that and just see what you think.
Well, yeah, I think Magomed won the fight 48-47. I think the 49-46 was a bit much, but I think 2 of the judges got it right. I think Alex won the first round, and I think it was the fourth round, if memory serves me, maybe the fifth round. I have to go back and watch it again as well. We were dealing with a lot of buffering issues. Thanks a lot, ESPN Plus.
Yeah, we should really hammer into that, but I know for the watch time, the people don't want to see us yell about ESPN Plus, but
separate video on that. But yeah. So I think Alex won 2 of the 5 rounds. Yeah. And it's just one of those things. If you're looking for that shot and you're not getting it, eventually the time's going to run out. When the time runs out, we just look at the scorecards, we add up the math, and it's basic arithmetic. And Magomed won the fight. I think it was the right call. Here's the thing, and we're going to do another video about what's next for Alex because I think the rematch is very likely. But if you're an Alex fan, this is where you have some hope. Magomed Ankalaev attempted 10 takedowns on Alex Pereira last night. He didn't land any of them.
Right.
I think that if we all walked away from last night and said, you know what, Magomed Ankalaev took Alex down 4 out of the 5 rounds and grinded him out, all of us wouldn't, one, we wouldn't really be pining for a rematch. 2, if you're an Alex fan, you pretty much had the air completely let out of the balloon.
Right. Because
what are you going to do? There's not enough time left in the career of Alex, who's in his late 30s, to go rectify the takedown defense good enough to where he can come back and beat Magomed. But we saw an opposite story. We saw Alex Pereira defend every takedown that was thrown his way.
Right.
We just saw him not throw enough volume. So if you're an Alex fan, all you got to do is go back and work on your volume a little bit, work on a few different strikes, work on some exchanges where you're sparring people that are opposite stance. And the beautiful thing about that is Alex is probably one of the top 5 strikers in the history of the UFC.
Right.
So if we're talking about him needing to go back and improve his striking, well, that's a realistic goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Alex Pereira having to go back and fine-tune some striking is the last thing his next opponent wants to hear. It's like, all right, our grappling's all set. Let's get our striking back where it was. But yeah, he was just flat and he wasn't throwing any volume. And one other thing I'll say about Alex Pereira is he is probably one of the best at fighting in the firefight exchanges. He's so good at it all the time on his Instagram story. Whether you're keeping up with him on social media, you see that he's in the training room, sitting in the pocket. And that's why people have come to the conclusion that, yeah, Alex gets hit a little bit. He sure does every now and again, but every time you land one, he's landing 4 or 5 on you. And I believe if he would have come at Ankaliev looking to get inside the pocket and do some boxing exchanges, he would have had Ankaliev a lot more hesitant on pressuring forward. That would have opened up the calf kick for a longer duration of the fight, and I think he ultimately would have had more success with the lead hook. But again, this is mixed martial arts. Not only do you have to mix up the martial arts, but even if you have a secret weapon, you still got to mix up the other weapons so the opponent doesn't see the secret attack coming.
Well said, and I think we'll see a lot more volume out of Alex in the rematch.
Absolutely.